What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey, episode number 193, presented by the Bar Room Network. It is the home of everything relating to your favorite sport, the National Hockey League. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I am a believer that the New Jersey Devils probably can't win the Stanley Cup, but they can win the Stanley Cup. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he is the king of all beans. Frank, how you doing?
Doing good. We both got a little bit of a setup today. Not an unfamiliar setup, but, one of the setups we don't see for quite some time.
Absolutely. I probably go a couple months at a time between this setup that I'm currently in. Coming at you from the great state, the NHL-less state of Wisconsin.
I wonder how many podcasts we've done from separate states. Probably a handful. Good chunk.
Yeah. I've done Crosstown, Crosstalk, and Bardown from Georgia. I've done Crosstown, Crosstalk, and Bardown from New Jersey. And Michigan, I think. I've done Bardown, maybe. I don't remember. Michigan for something, though. Maybe yeah. Let's go Devils.
See, right now I'm so close to the Wisconsin border, you could basically say I'm in Wisconsin.
Basically.
I mean, it's so close.
Yeah. So, now, I'm probably like 2 hours from you. Up here in the Dells.
You're a good chunk in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we're in the Dells.
Yeah.
So, and I know you're very familiar with the Dells. Wisconsin's a good state.
Yeah.
For what it lacks in hockey, it makes up for in cheese curds.
I was going to say a lot of cheese curds. I love cheese curds.
Me too. I like cheese in general.
I love experimenting with cheese curds. Like, we went to the Saddle Room a couple years ago. They had brie cheese curds, which was the first time I've ever had a brie cheese curd. Sometimes you'll go out and there's either a yellow cheese in there, a white cheese. I love it. Any type of cheese. I will say brie cheese curds weren't my number one. I wouldn't go out and order them if they're on a menu, but they were different. I like to try them. So
yeah, I've had them before too. They're good. They're fine. I get what you're saying. Yellow cheese curds are probably my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so.
But there are times where the white ones, I'm like, maybe these are my favorite. The only thing, are you cornmeal or beer battered cheese curds better?
Oh, beer batter.
Easily.
Cornmeal ones.
Huh?
I'll eat the corn ones.
Oh, of course. I would order them even.
Yeah, but I would prefer the beer batter. Greasy, bite into it, a little grease goes down your lip,
100%. They're terrible for you.
Oh, it would be. Oh yeah, horrible. It would be good because I'm a big Swiss cheese curd. I don't know how well it would be because nobody's done it. I've never seen it before, but I love Swiss cheese. I'd like to try a Swiss cheese curd.
Absolutely. Well, Frank, speaking of cheese, there's a guy out there in the NHL who's made goalies look like Swiss cheese for a good 20 years. Would you say? I think it is 20 years on the dot.
On the dot.
We are going to discuss that man in period number 1. Welcome to period 1, Frank. I've been waiting for this week, this show. Well, not this show. There will probably be one that one-ups this show. But I've been waiting for this for a long time. And it's not just because of you. I'm not going to allow you to make this all about you. Okay? This is not all about you. This is about me, too.
Can be.
I found a screenshot on my phone. I posted it to Facebook, and then I deleted it quickly because I realized I didn't do a good enough job of blacking out the person's name who commented on it. I have to redo it and repost it later. But I found a screenshot on my phone, or it was a Facebook memory that I took a screenshot of, where this is January 10th, 2016, 9 years ago.
Wow.
I said, I get to say I watched it live. And it's the link is to Ovechkin's 500th goal that he scored that day. I get to say I watched it live, especially if he goes on to break Gretzky's record. Congrats, Mr. 500. Someone commented it. Another dummy. LOL, it's not possible to break Gretzky's record. I responded, his goal record? ? Sure is. Because even in 2016, it was so obvious to my hockey brain that you all have access to for free that the man never gets hurt. He doesn't play. He plays a physical brand of hockey, but he's always doing the hitting. He's very rarely ever the hitty. And he just stands in one spot on the power play, and his shot is never really going to go away. He can play till he's 50 if all he relies on is his shot. And that I believed he would break Wayne Gretzky's goal record 9 years ago. I believed it when we started this conversation on the show. And I believe it right now. Frank, the Gr8 is 3 goals away from history. What do you think?
Well, first of all, just to make the fans and people watching clear, I did not make that comment.
No, it was not Frankie who made that comment. That's why I said another dummy.
Okay, yeah, I don't want people to think that was me. We're getting the wrong thing here. Now, it's funny you mentioned hits because this came up the other day, or maybe like a month ago on NHL Network or something. I was sitting there watching with Tom. They gave Ovechkin's career hits. He's got a ton, 3,730. And we're sitting there like, there's no way. That's wrong. Because like you said, he's not a hitty. He's not doing the hitting. But he manages to stay healthy until this year. He had that one scare. It was that, 4 to 6 weeks?
Yeah.
No, 6 to 8 or something like that. He's breaking it tonight against the Hawks. Like, that's a guarantee.
I thought he's not breaking it.
If he breaks it, that's his one. It's tonight or never. If he doesn't get it tonight, it's not. It's gonna be tonight, though. He got 780, 798, 799, and 800 against the Hawks 2 years ago. I believe that. Yeah, 2 seasons ago.
It was 2 seasons ago. December 13th, 2022.
So that you just know it's going to happen because that type of stuff happens to the Hawks, and it would just make it even better for you to make fun of me that it happened against the Hawks. But it's just that's the way this Hawks team is. Now, on the other hand, it could be the complete opposite. The Hawks have been playing good teams tough this year, and maybe they shut them down tonight. That's another possibility. I believe there's 7 games left for the Capitals. I think 6 or 7 games left for the Capitals. You assume he does it this year, right? You think it's a guarantee he gets it done in these next 7 games?
Well, I don't believe anything in hockey is like an actual guarantee. I wouldn't have guaranteed he breaks Gretzky's record in 2016. I predicted he would because of his style of play and what the tools he uses to be great. Like Zach Parise, if he had 500 goals at 32 in 2016, I would not have said he'd break because all he does is go to the front of the net and get bulldozed to score those goals. The wear and tear on the body would be like impossible to overcome, getting close to your 40s. Right. Ovechkin didn't do that. He stood there. Your dad used to get so pissed. I remember being like 17 years old, hearing your dad bitch and complain about how all Ovechkin does on the power play is stand there.
He does. That's how he scored his last goal on the 5-on-3.
He's the all-time leader in power play goals. Now, he does have over 700 assists, which is nothing to, squawk at, right? He's been a good playmaker in his career, too. He's not an all-time great playmaker. I don't even think there was ever a point where I would take him over anyone in the NHL besides Crosby. I would have taken Malkin. I think Malkin made teams more likely to win. Patrick Kane was a winger who drove offense. Jonathan Taves I would take in his prime over Ovechkin. That's not the argument here. The argument is goal scoring.
Hold on. Could you hold that thought? Because we might have a major issue. Yeah, are we live? We're live, but he's not getting the feed. Are other people getting the feed here? Or are we just talking to each other?
Well, Tom said, I think he stinks.
Did it go out or something?
Let's check. I know we started live. Travis,
I just want to make sure we're just not talking to ourselves.
Travis might need to refresh.
He can't hear us though. Could you hear us, Travis? Or I could type refresh.
Yeah, tell him to refresh. Yeah, we're live. We're good.
All right, let's see if
yeah, we're live on everything.
All right. Well, hopefully Just wanted to make sure. He said he has.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We're live on YouTube and Twitter.
I got a text saying we're live. They could hear us. Must be on Travis's end. I don't know, Travis. If you're on a phone or something, you might have to switch to. I don't know.
Yeah. What were we saying right around there?
You were on the goal or something. It's like.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't take
Yeah.
Ovechkin over a lot of players. Like if I'm trying to win, I think he's the greatest goal scorer who ever lived. And I do believe he's going to break the record. I did, but to say it's a guarantee this year when he's 39 and guys can go cold, like of course not. I also have long thought that the breaking record would be hard because it just seems like whenever they're like one away, it always seems like it takes a couple games to get it. I'm thinking back to baseball and Pujols with the home runs. Another thing I told you, and you were like, "No shot." When Bonds was doing it, I remember he had 2 against the Cubs and then went like cold for a week, and then he finally did it a couple weeks later.
Was a little different because wasn't that his last season regardless?
Yes.
So that was like he was done that year whether he got it or not. So I was like, yeah, he's not going to get it.
No, but one thing that seems pretty consistent through sports that I've noticed, and maybe the Pujols Ovechkin combination will teach you this valuable lesson, and it won't prove true for everyone. Nothing in sports is absolute. But 9 times out of 10, when a legend wants to do something, they do. If Crosby wants to have 2,000 points, he will. If he wants to win another Stanley Cup, he'll go to another team and give it his all. It's not happening with the Penguins. But I don't know. Am I going to predict he gets a hat trick tonight? That'd be funny.
He's getting a hat trick tonight. It's a guarantee. It's not a bean guarantee. I don't throw those out too often because you got to be certain for things like that. But it's a guarantee.
Ovechkin has 15 goals in 25 career games against the Chicago Blackhawks in his career, including the hat trick that Frankie aforementioned on December 13th, 2022. I was in the car driving home from New Jersey when Ovechkin did that. I had seen – it was a Tuesday, so I saw on Friday the Devils play the Islanders at Prudential Center, and then that Monday the Devils played the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden.
It was before the Connor Bedard era.
It was before the Connor Bedard era. The Blackhawks ended up trading Patrick Kane to the Rangers that season, only for him to lose in the first round to the New Jersey Devils.
I mean, you just know, hat trick against the Hawks. They're at home. I was in the same building I am today when he scored 800 during that hat trick. The pieces are coming together.
100%. I think Washington won that game 6-2 or 5-2.
It was horrible. It was
something like that.
And now they're even better this year than they were then.
Okay. I'm worried about Washington overall this year because I have a feeling there's going to be such a letdown after he breaks the record, and it wouldn't shock me if like Montreal or something bounces them.
That's who they would play right now if this.
I know. I honestly would contemplate picking Montreal in the bracket just because they're hot. The Capitals are cold, but Ovi's still scoring. They beat the Bruins 2 games ago, and they looked like crap the whole game. The Bruins just couldn't score.
See, that's the other thing. I could see it from that point of view. Like, it's a huge letdown after something big like that happened. Or history writes itself, breaks a record, and wins his second Stanley Cup.
100%. It rejuvenates the team. It energizes them. I can see that too. So Frankie's not predicting they lose in the second or third round. He thinks they either lose in the first or win the cup.
Oh, yeah.
If they win their first round series, Frankie believes the Capitals will at least make it to the cup.
If he breaks the record, I'd consider picking him to win the cup.
Really? As long as your dad picks St. Louis, I don't care about anything else.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll touch on St. Louis. It's funny you bring that up, but he did that one year.
It's happening again.
I know. I'm going to bring that up later on.
I think you probably have a good idea who I'm going to pick to win the Stanley Cup. It's not the Devils. It's not the Oilers either.
I know who you're going to pick.
It's the best version of this team in our lifetime. But we'll get to that in a couple weeks. But the Blues are doing it again. They were in second to last place. I remember worst Winter Classic matchup of all time. 7th and 8th place Winter Classic. Let's go, everybody.
Before we get to the Blues, because I know it's going to be the first thing we talk about in the second period.
And they played each other in the Winter Classic in 2019, didn't they?
Who? The Hawks?
The Hawks and the Blues.
Yeah, they did.
Was that? No, that might have been.
It was Boston, I think, right?
That was Boston, maybe. I don't know, actually.
Yeah, I'll look it up really quick. I don't remember.
That might have been 2017 when they played each other in the Winter Classic at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, it was Boston.
It was Boston. So, damn, they've had quite a few. Because they were in 2022 as well.
The Hawks?
The Bruins. The Bruins have almost had as many as the Blackhawks.
Mm-hmm. I think they're
the Hawks were the road team a lot of times.
The Hawks have the most outdoor games.
What player has the most outdoor games?
I don't know. We talked about it during Winter Classic. He played this year in that, right?
He played in one this year. That is correct.
I forgot who it was, but we talked about it.
Most people go to the Blackhawks, the Penguins, the Bruins to try and think of who it was.
It wasn't. It was somebody in the Stadium Series, right? Oh, no.
This year, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah,
This year they were in the Stadium Series. They have played with the Bruins in one of their outdoor games, though. Also, the Leafs and the Flyers. This person was the second overall pick in the 2007 NHL draft behind Patrick Kane.
It wasn't Van Riemsdyk.
James Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yep, their outdoor games people forget about Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
The Centennial Classic to celebrate NHL's 100th season. Maple Leafs Red Wings. He played in a Stadium Series game at Air Force with the Leafs, and then the Winter Classic with the Leafs, the Winter Classic with the Flyers back in the day, the Bruins 2 years ago against the Penguins, and you had the Stadium Series this year with Columbus. All this came from talking about Ovechkin, who has played in a couple Winter Classics to date.
Yeah, and I know what's really interesting is, and I saw this on social media the other day, is Wayne Gretzky and Alex Ovechkin almost have the same exact stat line,
including games
in terms
played.
of games played and goals.
Yeah,
like Gretzky had 1,487 games played and 894 goals. Ovechkin got 1,485 games and 892. 2 less games played, 2 less goals. If he scores 2 goals at the end of, let's see, they played today and then Sunday. At the end of Sunday's game, they'll both have 1,487 games played and 894 goals, which that's cool to have the same exact stat line. That's possible. It's possible it doesn't happen either.
I would love to see if he got a hat trick tonight. He breaks the record and he scores more goals in less games.
Yeah.
In an era that was harder to score.
And like you said, most power play goals, 323, 65 empty net goals, scored against 182 different goaltenders, 135 game-winning goals, tied for the most all-time with Jágr. That's another record he could break. He could be the sole record holder of that. This one, 178 multi-goal games. Multi-goal games are tough. You would think it's more. You would think it's more with 892 goals.
That's almost 400 goals, though.
I know, but that means there's like 500 goals where he only got 1 a game. You would think it's a little more. More than half his goals are just 1-goal games.
There's also 32 hat tricks.
Yep, 32 hat tricks, which is 5th overall. Hat tricks against 20 different franchises, which that's crazy. That ties Brett Hull's record. I'd love to know what those 20 teams are. Obviously, he probably doesn't have them against like Vegas or Seattle, some of the newer teams.
Vegas, Seattle, and Utah are the only 3 teams he doesn't have double-digit goals against.
Exactly. So he probably doesn't have a hat trick against those teams. 20 goal seasons, which is tied for second all time, and 19 30 goal seasons, which is a record. So yeah, he's done a lot. Those are the last little bits I wanted to touch on before we moved on. I know VP wants to talk about the Blues, but
100%.
Yeah.
And Ovechkin's last hat trick came on February 23rd against the Edmonton Oilers. So it's not like at 39 years old he's incapable of scoring one this year.
And Gretzky's following him right now.
Yep, Gretzky will be in the building. I believe they're rooming together for the rest of this. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that was a joke or not. It very well could have been a joke, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, man, it's an all-time great NHL moment on the horizon.
It's going to be like the LeBron James thing, where they stop. Stop the game.
It might be like bigger.
We'll see.
LeBron James' stat is incredible, and I'm happy for him. There's a lot of cumulativeness, longevity in that statistic for him.
Mm-hmm.
Ovechkin's going to break Gretzky's record in roughly the same amount of games played in an era that was harder to score. And scoring's down this year. Have you taken a look at that? There's only going to be 3 100-point scorers for the first time in like 5 years. And we went through an era where there were often 0.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie Benn won the Hart Trophy, or won the Art Ross with 87 points that one year, which is crazy. Austin Matthews had almost that many goals last year. Scoring's down. Goals are down. Weird year. Offense went down again. I don't really know why. I don't think goalies got – offense went down, but goalie statistics stayed the same, which are pretty low right now in terms of history. Mm-hmm. This is like the worst goalie era of all time in terms of save percentage, goals against. One of the worst 5-year stretches in history, yet goals are also down. I really don't understand. I think that to me means teams are really, really good at defending. Goalies aren't facing a lot of shots, but they're not that good. So when they do, they go in. But scoring is ultimately down as a result as well, which makes Alexander Ovechkin dude, he might win the Rocket Richard if he never breaks his leg. He's third in goals, missing 16 games. No, he's not going to catch Draisaitl, but could he be around 50 right now if he didn't break his leg in November? Oh, how good did you feel when McBain hurt him in November? You thought you had a chance to at least evade me for this year?
I don't want guys to get hurt, but
record would have been broken a month ago.
It's crazy.
Maybe more than a month ago if he never got hurt.
Yeah, I don't want to see him get hurt.
No, of course not.
But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that something like that happened that kind of put it on halt for a month and a half.
It did. And if it bleeds into next year, you'll firmly blame it on that. Oh, I would love to talk about it all summer. Be like, Frank, you excited for hockey season? Frank, you excited for hockey season? Frank, you excited for hockey season? Every time I see you. Why don't we talk about the teams pushing to make the Yoffs in period number 2? Welcome to period 2, Frank. Man, another year where a bunch of teams in the Eastern Conference don't want to make the playoffs. Less bad than last year, though. Because last year, Montreal would be losing a bunch of games along with the other teams below them. At least Montreal stays winning.
Remember when they lost to the Blackhawks so they couldn't get in?
Buddy fucking Robinson.
Yep.
I will never forget Buddy Robinson as long as I live. And listen, I'm a Devils guy first and foremost.
That's so funny.
When push comes to shove, I want the New Jersey Devils to win. I care about the Chicago Blackhawks, though. They're very nice to me. Everybody there is super friendly. And I also didn't know that when Buddy Robinson was going on. I hadn't been with the hockey news yet. But I always had a feeling that would be my path to cover them because I'm locally around here. I wanted them to win the draft lottery. And if Buddy fucking Robinson doesn't score that goal, they have the second best odds to win Bedard instead of the third. Or no.
They'd
they
have
would have had the first best instead of the second.
Yeah.
And they got him anyway.
So no harm, no foul.
100%. And listen, I don't think they're going to be bad enough next year to be in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. I really don't. I did, and then they did something I didn't think they were going to do. They traded Jones. They traded Hall. They brought in Del Mastro, who looks outstanding. Nolan Allen, Crevier. Crevier scratched every game. He'd be a starter on the Devils, probably, who are going to the playoffs. Their defense is awesome. I think Rinzel might be better than Levshinov. And Levshinov's been amazing since coming up.
Yeah.
And with good goaltending and defense, you can win games in the NHL. It also will depend on the coach they hire, but I firmly believe, Frank, that teams who play the right way at a strong pace. So basically what I'm saying is if you play hard, you have at least a chance to win on any given night. You see it with Montreal. They're not the most talented team in the league. Suzuki's a really good player. I like Laine. They're getting good goaltending. Lane Hutson's a superstar. He's probably going to win the Calder Trophy. And again, we'll touch on Montreal in a second. But they play hard every single game. Marty St. Louis has done an outstanding job coaching that team. If the Blackhawks come in next year and they have good defense and good goaltending and everybody's bought in and they play hard, you'd be surprised how far that can take you in the league. Mm-hmm. So with that said, the reason I brought that up in the first place is if they're not good enough for next year's draft lottery, I wouldn't mind seeing them win it this year. If they win it this year, they're ineligible next year. With the new rule that's been in place, you can only win it twice in a certain amount of time. And Gavin McKenna would go first in this year's draft, next year's draft, and the draft a year later. He's that good. But hey, if they won the draft lottery and got their choice of the litter, that'd be awesome this year. It'd also be cool if
big off season too.
Me too. I do too. And if that guy comes in, whoever they bring in is bought in and all that, it would be, outstanding. Could they be Montreal next year? I'm not saying it's impossible. I wouldn't bet on it, right? Because, that's crazy. But I definitely don't think all their games, they're 1-9-0 in their last 10. They're terrible. They're not winning games right now. But the vibes around the room are immaculate. I just have a different sense being in there lately. Everybody's young and vibrant and fast and fun. And it's a lot of one-goal games. I was happy that Colorado tied it because I want them to have the best odds possible. I don't think they could catch Nashville anymore for the third best odds, but just in case, they'll have either the first or second best odds again with the Sharks. But yeah, I could see them being a bubble team next year. That's their ceiling, though. And I will quickly revert on that if I don't like what I see this summer.
Katie wants you to do this episode from the hot tub.
I really thought about it.
Full schlong, camera down.
Why do I got to be in the nude?
You get in at least the bathing suit.
Well, you said full schlong.
Well, nobody's there.
That's true.
So.
That's true. The little critters out there wouldn't mind, I don't think.
But yeah, I think they're gonna be better. I have a feeling. I'm looking forward to next season. Already, I'm looking forward to the draft. So yeah.
That's funny. Katie called your ass out. She said you a bitch. You know how I feel about goaltending, defense, and centermen. They don't need to make a signing. I think that highly of Rinzel and Levshinov. Would I have drafted Bouillon second overall? Yes, I would have. I still stand by that.
Vlasic's really good too.
Dude, Vlasic's not even getting power play time anymore. That's how good Rinzel and Levshinov have been. I think the world of Vlasic. He's actually my favorite player to see when I walk in the locker room because you get two guys a game. I love seeing Vlasic in there because he always gives candid, thoughtful answers that make my job easier. I'm rooting for him. If he's the number 3, damn. I'm worried about center. I don't know if Moore and Nazar are centers long term. I don't know if Bedard's center long term. I think Bedard's center long term, but he still has to prove it a little more. He'll get bigger, stronger, faster, smarter. Guy needs to start shooting a little bit more. He diverts a lot of passes to guys who aren't as skilled as him.
We saw that last year too. He didn't shoot a ton.
Yeah, he still got 20 goals.
And then somebody got in his ear and he started shooting a little bit more at the tail end of last season. I'm like, okay, he's finally starting to shoot it. Then this year, it's like he's getting back into old habits.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something I would be in his ear about if I were in charge. But Frank, these wild card teams, you got Ottawa and Montreal holding on, St. Louis and Minnesota. What are you thinking on each side?
Wait, say that again?
You got St. Louis and the Wild in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Ottawa and Montreal holding the spots down in the East. You got any shifts coming here in the last couple weeks of the season, or you think they're going to kind of lock in place?
Well, St. Louis, first of all, eerily similar to 2019 that we talked about when they won the Cup. They were in last place on New Year's Eve in the NHL. We're saying last, not last in their division, last in the NHL. They ended up winning the Stanley Cup. One of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen, probably in NHL history, to win a cup. It was unbelievable. They're on an 11-game win streak, tying a franchise record. Kyrou, Thomas Holloway, all been amazing. Jordan Binnington has been lights out lately. He was named the NHL third star of the month. So the whole team is playing really good. Jimmy Snuggerud is now playing for the Blues. He got a point against the Penguins, first career NHL point on a neighbor's second goal of the game. So right now, Blues are clicking. They're not going anywhere. They're obviously they're going to make the playoffs. I believe the Blues started selling playoff tickets already. You could purchase them. So as far as the West as a whole, I think the 8 teams that are going to get in are locked in right now. Now, they can move up and down some of these teams in terms of seeding. The 8 teams are locked in. I think both the Pacific and the Central Division are up for grabs. The Knights are currently in first in the Pacific. But the Kings, they've been playing great lately, and they're only 3 points behind the Knights. So I think it's between those teams for the Pacific. Now, the Central's the same way, except Dallas is 2 points behind Winnipeg, and I think Dallas will win that division just from how good they've been playing lately. 7 wins in a row for the Dallas Stars. I think the bubble in the West the bubble in the West isn't as important as the bubble in the East, because I think these final 2 weeks for the West is going to be more important for the 8 teams that are in it for seeding purposes. Now, when you look at the East, I don't think the 8 teams that are in the playoffs right now are locked in. I think 7 of the 8 teams are locked in. Like you said, the Montreal Canadiens, the New York Rangers, they're battling for that final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Rangers are 2 points out of a playoff spot behind Montreal. Both teams have the same amount of games played. Both teams have played 75 games, but the Rangers would hold the tiebreak in the event of a tie. So things are very interesting right now, and things are very tight. Right there, Montreal, they've been playing great, though. Lane Hudson leads all rookies in points as a defenseman. He's been great. Same goes. So I think 7 of the 8 are locked in there. I think that final spot will be snagged by the Rangers or Montreal. It's going to be a fun, exciting 7 final games for both teams. And then same, of course, like I said, for the West is the same for the East. I think there could be fluctuations in who wins certain divisions. I think the Atlantic could be won by either of the top 3 teams. I think it could go either way to the Maple Leafs, Lightning, or Florida Panthers. If, the Panthers get hot and the Maple Leafs and Lightning kind of falter here, they could. But speaking of the Lightning, how about the Lightning, man? After losing their captain and still putting on a clinic in the regular season, 2nd place in the Atlantic. After losing a Lightning legend, one of the greatest Lightning players of all time. It's crazy.
100%. The Lightning and the Avalanche have been the 2 best teams in the league since the trade deadline. They improved their teams the most, and they lived up to it the most since then. And that's saying something because Dallas is right there, but Colorado and Tampa Bay, man. I have one correction for you. Winnipeg leads the Central Division by 4 points, which I think their shutout win over the Golden Knights yesterday.
It didn't. When I looked at the stats, it didn't. It must have not.
Oh, that's fine. I was thinking like Dallas was going to win the division too, especially if Winnipeg wasn't able to beat Golden Knights. This was my thinking yesterday.
Mm.
And that clinic that Winnipeg put on for the Golden Knights the other day, I'm like, maybe Winnipeg will just hang on and win the division. I do know, I've heard neither team wants to play Colorado. They are both scared of Colorado.
Colorado.
I don't.
Teams.
That's crazy to me if you're Dallas, especially. Like that you're that scared of another. Like Colorado's been the best team in the West since the trade deadline. It's inarguable.
You just don't want to be over. I wouldn't want to play them. I wouldn't want to say we're playing more locked up.
You'd rather play the Blues, though?
It's a lose-lose. It's tough in the West right now. The Blues,
100%.
And we've seen this from the Blues. Maybe they win the Cup again.
Yeah, no, I think the Blues are probably going to draw the Golden Knights because I think they're going to stay ahead of the Wild. In the East, Devils will clinch third in the Metro. All 6 of their remaining games are against non-playoff teams, and they need 4 more points. Yeah. The Leafs, I think the Leafs are going to win the Atlantic, and that means they'll get Ottawa, which the Battle of Ontario. Please. The Battle of Montreal and Toronto would be great too, but Battle of Ontario in the playoffs, I would do anything. That's the one I would, if we did the whole which series are you most excited for a bit that we do sometimes, that's the one I would say if it were to happen. So, little prelude. I hope the Rangers hold that spot over the Rangers, or the Habs hold that spot over the Rangers. I hope so bad.
Yeah, I mean, the Habs could play Toronto. If they have to climb. They have to get that 7th spot.
They're not going to, I don't think.
You never know.
5 points with 7 games.
But you're only trying to climb over the one team. If they really, you never know. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but Ottawa would have to go on a serious slump. And they are missing Brady Tkachuk. He didn't play in their last game, and they still got a big win over the Lightning. I mean, what a win. What a win that was for Ottawa.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. The East is weak compared to the West, though.
Yeah, the West is a wagon right now.
I really only think the 3 top Atlantic teams can win the Cup in the East.
They're an absolute wagon, VP.
Yeah, and the only team making the playoffs in the West that have no shot is the Wild.
And that's why the West is, I said, locked up.
Yeah.
Those top 8 teams are. What did you say about the Wild?
I think they're the only team that can't win the cup.
Oh, I
making the playoffs.
I thought you said they can't make the playoffs. I'm like, no, they're getting in.
No, they're getting in. Yeah. Tough year for Vancouver. I mean,
well, they had injuries.
A lot of noise. And now Rick Tocchet, Vancouver doesn't like how closely tied to the Flyers Rick Tocchet is, even though Rick Tocchet had nothing to do with those rumors. Heard that from an interesting thing. You know what else I heard? Lucas Reichel is scratched tonight because he missed a morning meeting. So something to keep an eye on. It will be Spencer Knight versus Charlie Lindgren, those who are looking to watch the Blackhawks play the Capitals tonight.
I wonder if Ovechkin's ever scored against Spencer Knight.
I believe he has.
Okay.
I can quadruple check that for you, though.
I'd like to know, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I will quadruple check that for you while we get things started in period number 3. Welcome to period 3, Frank. I'm going to open the floor to you for Frank's video game corner with the brand new news of the Nintendo Switch 2.
Are you excited?
Oh, I fired up regular Switch, and it's here with me, and we will get the Switch going probably not long after the show.
Do you know the logistics? Like, there's a lot of juicy stuff with the Nintendo Switch here.
That's what Frank's video game is corner. The floor is completely yours.
I wanna pre-order this, to be honest with you. So
see, I bet you do. I heard today that pre-orders were delayed because of our awesome tariffs that are coming in.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Sarcasm with the word awesome.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Because I was going to say pre-orders start April 9th.
Yep, not anymore.
Oh, that sucks. But no, I really want the Switch. If you're a video game fan or a Nintendo fan, you're going to be excited to hear, if you have not already, that we were just talking about, the Nintendo Switch 2 will be released on June 5th this year. That means we are only 2 months away, almost to the day. It'll retail at $449.99, or you could purchase the Nintendo Switch 2 Mario Kart World Bundle for $499.99, which is a standard Nintendo bundle that Nintendo always releases with any new console they release. They usually throw in a Mario game in there, so that's $500. Obviously, I'd probably go bundle, because if I'm getting a Nintendo Switch 2, I want a game to play, a newer game, one meant for the Switch. Something new with the Nintendo Switch 2 is Game Chat. It's a new online feature from Nintendo that'll let players play and talk with each other while playing Nintendo Switch 2 games. Once you have Game Chat activated, players will be able to press the C button on the Joy-Con. It's on the right Joy-Con, not only to start chatting with friends, but also you could share your screen with them and use video chat with a Nintendo Switch 2 camera accessory that you could purchase for $49.99, USB-C, but you could also video chat with certain games like Mario Party Jamboree, or if you're playing a new Mario Party game, you could have your face up chatting with a group of friends playing while you're not in the same location as them. So I thought that was a really cool feature that Nintendo added. There'll be a Pro controller, just like there was with the Nintendo Switch, that retails for $79.99. Looks like the original Switch Pro controller, but comes with an audio jack. Obviously, the C button on there for game chat, and 2 extra back buttons. So I think Nintendo is fully going in on the whole like party chat. If you're an Xbox or game chat, they want users to socialize with other Nintendo players more, and something that they really haven't done that kind of limited them compared to PlayStation or Xbox, where you're able to chat with friends and play. So that'll be cool. I'm glad Nintendo's finally going that route. Something else that I think, gaming fans and Nintendo Switch fans will be happy to hear about, and I'm sure you will as well, VP, is your games from the Nintendo Switch are backwards compatible, so you don't have to be worried about your old Switch games. Like, hey, I got a Switch, now the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out, I'm not going to be able to use them. You won't have to worry about that, because all your Nintendo Switch games will be backwards compatible to the Nintendo Switch 2. There will be versions of Nintendo Switch games that they create a Nintendo Switch 2 version for. For example, you may already own Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom on the Nintendo Switch. But they are making a Nintendo Switch 2 version that you could purchase for your Nintendo Switch 2. Now, you could still play those games, Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, that you have for your Switch, but they will have newer versions for the Switch 2. And these newer versions don't change the game and the storyline, but those versions will include like smoother frame rates, faster load times, better graphics, stuff like that. So if you don't already own some of those older games, you could purchase the Switch 2 version to get, better frame rate, stuff like that, better graphics for the newer console. They also announced some new games as far as Mario Kart World, new Mario Kart game, Donkey Kong Bonanza, which comes out July 17th this year. Happy birthday. And Kirby Air Riders, which is a new racing game that is being developed by the Super Smash Bros. Director. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'm sure somewhere down the line, there'll probably be a new Smash game. Even though this isn't a full-on console, Nintendo likes to release different Smash games with the different consoles. I don't know if they will do this for Switch 2, but I have a feeling there will be a new Super Smash Bros. Down the line. It just hasn't been announced yet. And then I thought it was also interesting that they will also feature the Nintendo Switch 2 exclusively GameCube games coming to the Switch 2. So I thought that was cool. There's a few announced already. I'm sure the floodgates will open up for that as to what GameCube games make their way exclusively to the Nintendo Switch 2. So I thought that was really interesting because for me, I had a lot of good times with the GameCube, and there were a lot of games I enjoyed on the GameCube. So I was excited to hear that. But there's a lot going on here and a lot to take in, and I really just touched on the tip of the iceberg, to be honest with you. I just felt like I talked about the most important points, but there's a lot going on with the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm very excited, and I would love to pre-order or buy this, but apparently those are put on hold right now. But that's what I got for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I will have one by the end of the year for sure. If I don't have one by the day it comes out, I would love to have one the day it comes out. But
Absolutely, I'm thinking about it too. I don't know how I'm going to attack that, but I'm super excited for it. I obviously can't wait. But I'll be playing Switch 1 from now till then.
We're evolving now. Nintendo's evolving. They're trying to get on the Xbox, PlayStation level. The fact that we could chat, if I'm here, you're there, I could talk with you, video you while we play games. I mean, when you play Switch games like Super Mario Party, those are party games that you want to enjoy with people. Like those are some of the most popular games when you have friends over and you're hosting. You throw on Mario Party because you're together and you want to be with those people when you play. Now you could do that over a video while you're playing, but from separate houses. It's like Nintendo's taking it to the next level. I don't know how many people use that feature necessarily because you got to buy the add-ons and you got to buy the camera, but it's cool that they're doing it, and it's cool that they've added a talk feature on the controller itself where you don't have to pay extra to use that feature. I think it's really cool. We're seeing Nintendo kind of evolve with this Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm excited for it.
100%. I absolutely cannot wait. It's going to be so fun. I'm sure it's going to bring a lot of us playing video games together. It's going to be so exciting when they announce a Zelda or a Smash, though. Whew, I only get that feeling every couple of years. Oh, yeah. I feel like those days are so unique. Like you only get them every so often. Super stoked about that.
Like I know they are creating a new Zelda game. That's been announced. That's away from the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom storyline, completely new storyline. So
many were surprised it wasn't announced already at this little direct they had.
Well, it'll be on the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Frank, it's time to wrap up this show with America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets. Before I let you go on Breaking Bets, Tom points out that Korch has to beef up a bit. A little worried about Korch, actually, long term. The only thing he has going for him is that he's right-handed. Other than that, his best asset is his offensive game, and he's the third best guy on the team at it. Rinzel and Levchinov have just passed him by. It's like so fast. And organizationally, Vlasic's ahead of him. It's hard. I think you'd rather a third pair of Del Mastro with Allen.
Yeah.
Just because I think they provide something different. And Rinzel's a beast. He might be their best defenseman.
I love Rinzel.
He literally might be their best defenseman right now. And he's part of the reason I changed my tune about next year. He could be Brock Faber-esque.
I lied. Good.
The difference, Brock Faber got to play in the playoffs. When he signed, Rinzel's going to pack his bags. Him and Moore are ineligible for the Calder Cup playoffs, which sucks. But Rinzel at minimum will make the opening day roster. I think Moore might too. It wouldn't pain me too much though if Moore got a little seasoning in the A to start his career next year. He's ineligible this year. But Moore or Rinzel, opening day. Thank you, Foster. Very fun. Loved the show. I was watching for quite a long time, actually. All right, Frank. America's favorite podcast segment of the week. The floor is yours.
Yeah, that Florida Gators pick from 2 weeks ago, that futures still, I still think they could win the national championship. So there's that. And then I got 2 more picks for you. The MLB season is officially underway. So we'll give our first MLB pick of the regular season. We got the Cincinnati Reds tonight Facing off against the Milwaukee Brewers, this Reds team has got to score eventually, you would think, right? I mean, I've never seen anything like this. The Reds have lost their last 3 games 1-0. 3 games in a row losing 1-0. That is, to me, that's just blasphemy. The bats have not come alive yet, and after 3 consecutive shutouts, you would think the floodgates are about to flood right open, wouldn't you think? Nick Martinez is on the mound for the Reds. He did lose his first start of the season, but he didn't pitch that bad. And the bullpen for the Reds has been very good lately. Obviously, they've lost 1-0 in the past 3 games. Their bullpen's been fine. They just haven't been able to score. So limiting teams to run is not limiting teams to scoring runs has not been something they've struggled to do. So I see them finally being able to score and hold the fort down after they get a lead. They're not going to get shut out 4 games in a row. If they do, that's really bad from their perspective. So I'm going to take the Reds money line at plus 100 for 2 units. And then the hockey pick of the night, we got the Minnesota Wild and the New York Islanders. Both teams have been horrible, really, this season. I mean, yeah, the Wild are in a playoff spot, but lately, I think they've lost 4 of their last 5 games. The Islanders have lost 6 in a row. Both teams have been playing really bad. But they need to hold on to that final wild card spot in the Western Conference, the Wild. They should. I think they're in. Like I said earlier, I think that the 8 teams that are in the West are in. But weird things happen. They can't afford to lose this game, especially because the Islanders, they're basically playing exhibition games the rest of the year. They're not going to make the playoffs. So they're just playing for fun. It doesn't look like this team's motivated at all. They've lost 6 in a row. So I look for the Wild to win this game and solidify themselves and take a stand and say, hey, we are going to make the playoffs. I don't want teams to overlook us. But this is big for them, too, not only to kind of increase their lead on that bubble spot there in the final wild card, but also because you don't want to go into the postseason as bad as they have been. So I'm going to go with the Minnesota Wild money line plus 105 for 2 units. Those are my 2 picks for you.
Very good, Frank. Outstanding stuff. You really think Ovi's doing it tonight, huh?
Yep. Hat trick tonight. There's no other option. Ovi. There's no other option.
I mean, I think he's going to get 1 tonight, 1 on Sunday, which will be together for most of the game, maybe.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have you over. I think it's Tuesday, and that's going to be the day. Columbus Blue Jackets. It's either Tuesday or Monday or Wednesday. It's sometime next week. We'll see if you're a coward. Are you going to show up?
I have to. But he's going to break it tonight, so it doesn't matter.
Okay. If he broke it tonight, that would make my life a lot easier because I would get a free story out of it, too. I don't have an outlet to really write about it other than Twitter and Facebook anymore because I'm strictly in on the Blackhawks when it comes to hockey and the Devils a little bit when I feel like it. But, I have to write about the Blackhawks, and if he did it against them, I'd be able to fully write about it, which would be a really, really cool thing.
I'm trying to see when their next game is after.
It's days like today I miss Puck Pros.
Unless I'm crazy, because I just looked at it twice. After Sunday, their next game is Thursday.
Correct. Against Carolina.
There's a long break in between.
Yep. Which means you would have to come on Thursday. And then Saturday's a day game. So you'd have to come in the day. And then I would leave.
It's happening tonight. So we're talking about this for nothing.
You know what would be fun, Frank, if on Saturday you bought tickets, if the record's still not broken, and you go to the Blackhawks game that night. We could drive together. And
Saturday.
Yeah. Because we could watch Ovechkin play during the day, and then right when that game's over, head to the United Center. And after, I'm going to the barn, I think, because our buddy Nick and Jeremy will be there because they're playing Winnipeg, and Jeremy loves Hellebuck. Just something to think about. That'd be fun. You wouldn't have to pay for parking. Really, just have to get your ticket. Yeah. I don't really feel like it. Why don't you ask me later, Tubby?
I mean, you don't have to take it that far, but.
That's our show. I hope everybody enjoyed. I hope Frankie enjoyed talking about how great Alexander Ovechkin is. 3 more, baby. As Dr. Strange said, we're in the end game now. I'd like to thank everybody for watching the Barroom Network here on the YouTube, here on the Facebook, here on the Twitter, everywhere else it is you can watch a podcast. And for Frankie Mueller, do you have anything left to say from your sorry little mouth before we head on out of here?
We're going to witness history tonight.
Witness history tonight, according to him. It's probably another thing he'll be wrong about.
Hope I am.
Actually,
What?
you're not rooting for it? Oh, I would love if he did it against the Devils.
No, that's all you. Whenever they play the Devils, you can root for it all you want. I don't want him to do it against the Hawks.
He scored 700 against the Devils, and the Devils still won, so it was all good.
He did 800 against the Hawks, so I've seen enough. So
yeah, but they got smoked, and then basically started a rebuild from that point on.
He does it on.
No, that's true. That's true. I don't think anybody would necessarily. There are people
like he sent his jersey to the guy who scored his first goal again.
There are people who agree with me, though. I looked at CHGO's poll this morning.
That's
pretty 50-50. People are like, I don't care.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens. All right, for everybody watching. What?
I said that's just crazy.
If your team is good, maybe.
I don't care if they're bad. It's like
stinks.
You don't want history against yourself when it's not for you.
That's fair. I get it. It is Spencer Knight in net, too.
Did you check if he's ever scored against them?
Oh, wait. I could do that really quick before we go, actually. You're right. I meant to do that. And then we got off on a tangent. Ovechkin versus Panthers.
I'm sure you could just type in has Alex Ovechkin ever scored a goal against Spencer Knight?
You're probably right.
I'm sure Google AI or something will.
I'm gonna guess he has. Okay, every goalie Alexander Ovechkin has ever scored on. Okay. Who's he scored on the most?
Bobrovsky.
Nope. He's up there, though.
It's going to be like a Vasilevsky?
Nope.
It's going to be somebody from the East that they play a lot.
Yeah.
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Correct. It is Marc-Andre Fleury.
I had to think of it.
Alexander Ovechkin has 2 career goals against Spencer Knight.
Okay.
He was the 150th goalie he ever scored on.
Wow.
Yep. The first came on November 4th, 2021.
Obviously when he was with the Panthers.
Yep. He was a rookie. So I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Make sure you tune in. Watch the Blackhawks tonight. Foster, thank you very much. Glad to have you back in the comments. History will be made shortly enough.
Good to see you, Foster.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you very soon. We'll be back next Friday. For Frankie Mueller, I'm Vinny Parisi. And as always, thank you for listening.